This is our sap collecting and transporting vehicle. We started with what we had, a 2002 Kawasaki diesel mule. 1,100 pound bed capacity, 1,600 pound total capacity rated. Here we have our dump tank. This is where we dump our pails of sap. This tank is just setting in here. It's not bolted in, it's just sits in this pocket. It can be easily lifted out and dumped if it becomes dirty. In it, well, first off, we have added, we have kept parts of the top, bolted them in for splash guards. That seems to be doing its job quite well. We have a 600 gallon per hour 12 volt electric pump by Simmer. This pump cannot run dry, so we've added plug-ins and we've added a float switch, septic sub pump type float switch to mind the pump for us. The float switch is mounted in the dump tank. It pumps the sap in through this hose, through a pipeline milk sock filter, the same type of milk sock we use to filter the milk from the cow to the bulk tank. Have a valve here blocking off the tank so we can change the filter if the tank is full, and from there it pumps into the tank. The pump is mounted on a steel plate. The plug-in is, the electric plug-in is just a straight plug. The plate is held down on 3 studs with 3 wing nuts. We can remove this pump in a matter of minutes to get it inside on a cold night. Here's our 2-inch diameter pump out. We can disconnect this for storage. And here is our valve and our 2-inch male cam lock to hook a hose up to pump out. Here is a 2-inch male cam lock we can use as an input if necessary, where we can input if we want to pump in and pump through the filter while loading from tanks in the woods. In an emergency, I can also use this as a pump out by simply throwing the suction hose from the pump in the tank, closing the valve beyond the filter, and throwing 5 gallons of sap into the dump tank to fool the float switch, and simply connecting a hose onto here. Opening this valve, connecting a hose on here, I can pump it out in an emergency. The tank is a 150 gallon Schneider tank. This mule handles this load fairly well. A fully loaded tank and 2 passengers does not place the rear springs down on the bump stops. I've had bigger loads of fieldstone in it. It handles it quite well, surprisingly. To keep the whole thing moving in adverse conditions and eliminate ruts, we've placed the whole thing on a set of Camoplast Tattoo 4-season UTV tracks. These tracks displace a total of 2,740 square inches, giving me a total loaded ground pressure of 1.3 pounds per square inch, and can pretty well go under all conditions. The steel rack was built on the weekend, and wasn't built until we had the tank and everything else in place. We have added turnbuckle and chains to the front to see to it that it stays secure even with a fully loaded dump tank in back. The metal frame, we saw to it that we gusseted all major corners for added strength. Any suggestions on improvements would be greatly appreciated.